What's up, G fans? Today I'm doing this is the third to last of my Godzilla dissections. Just about wrapped up. It's been a while since I've posted, honestly, because I've been so busy with school and work, and also my side project of getting my official book, my first novel, published. And which, on a side note, I'll be doing my own video about that. But pretty soon, my novel will be posted officially on for sale on Amazon, through Kindle, through CreateSpace, and it's been a very tiring process. I've had to edit my book over 30 freaking times, if not more, just go over my own errors. But yeah, I'll cover more about that in my next video. I'm here to talk about, like I said, one of the last three Godzilla dissections. After this one, will be two more. So it's been quite a journey. It's taken over a year for me to get to this point. And I'm happy with most of the dissections. But today I'm here to talk about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And I know it still is just an American version of the Japanese original film 1954 Gojira. However, since this is one of the films that, almost every other page, popular page anyways, I guess you'd say, decided to chalk this up as two different movies. Wikipedia has a whole separate article for Gojira and Godzilla King of the Monsters. IMDb has two separate, pages for Gojira and Godzilla King of the Monsters. So I thought to myself, why not just split up the reviews then? Because they are similar in a lot of ways, but they're also different in a lot of ways. So here I am today talking about 1956 Godzilla King of the Monsters. To go over the brief history of this movie, it's pretty apparent Gojira was a big success in Japan, both critically and commercially. And so, of course, in America, the producers saw this and they wanted to, bring it overseas and, of course, dub it for the American people to enjoy. However, they did end up cutting a lot of things out to make it more, I guess to give it a faster pace and also just remove some of the, more implicit anti-nuclear messages in the film. And yeah, those are some of the few slides. Of course, they also gave a more American focus by giving, of course, a brand new character to the whole mix, which I'll get into. Let's delve in right there with the American actor who becomes basically the main focus of the movie. Because the overall Japanese film and the American version of it, they're not that different story-wise. The only difference is it is now told almost entirely first-person point of view from the character of Steve Martin, played excellently by Raymond Burr. The whole point of the story is that Raymond Burr's character, Steve Martin, is in Japan visiting a few people for a story. However, he ends up experiencing the terror that is Godzilla while he's there, and basically from there the plot pretty much flows the same way. The only difference is that at key points now, news conferences, talking with characters, Steve Martin is inserted into these scenes very cleverly. It's interesting. They talk about this a lot during the commentary, which I bought because I bought I first saw. Well, let me put it this way: I saw the American version of this movie, King of the Monsters, years ago on AMC. Thought it was pretty good already. It's not a bad movie. And then once I bought the classic media version, which contained both editions of the movie, finally watched it compared and listened to the commentary because I wanted to learn as much about it as I could. And a lot of the scenes, which were at the time and they still hold up pretty well today. They insert him in so many of the key scenes, talking to characters like Serizawa and a lot of the reporter characters and Dr. Yamane, simply by having the actor remember talk to basically what the audience looks at as the back of the head of each of these characters. And it sounds funny, but it's actually pretty well done. And aside the dubbing is not bad for the time, honestly. A lot of dubs that would come out later on would be a lot worse. So, the scenes hold together pretty well, inserting an American actor into the middle of these Japanese film scenes. It's pretty seamless, honestly, although if you pick it apart more, you might notice, but to me, it holds together pretty well. And as for the character of Steve Martin, I respect his character. The character was interesting. That's why watching Godzilla 1985 was such a disappointment, because Steve Martin, I don't say he's integral. He was basically just an observer of the whole plot in this movie. However, at least he was actually there. In Godzilla 1985, it was not as easy to simply insert him into the whole story, mainly because the humans were doing a lot more in a sense, and also times had changed. I'm trying to get away with that in a color film, in the 1980s would be a lot more difficult than it was in the 1950s when it was black and white. And, you could possibly get away with an editing trick like that. So, in that movie, Steve Martin just watches. He's in the United States the whole time watching the events of the film go down. But, I already covered how I feel about Godzilla 1985 in its own dissection, so I won't dwell on that. But, like I said, the treatment here was just a hell of a lot better. And going over Godzilla King of the Monsters, like I said, a lot of the power of the film is still there because, after all, one of the most key components, they did not cut Akira Ifukube's score, which is fantastic because a lot of films that would come later on, like Godzilla Raids Again, Ghidorah the Monster, King Kong vs. Godzilla, a lot of those would heavily cut out, if not entirely, Ifukube's score, which hurts those movies quite a bit and takes away from the feel of them. This movie, they decided to keep his score entirely, and it works out great. You still get the feelings of ominous terror and tragedy and things like that still play out very well because they decided to keep those scenes and the music. In fact, the only thing they really cut in this movie, like I said, is because the original version, which I love it so much, they add so many scenes of the civilians commenting on the situation before and after Godzilla appears, and you get a view of how citizens feel about this whole nuclear threat, and how of course how it feels to live in a country where you've had to suffer something like this beforehand. See citizens worrying about having be in shelters all the time again. And that was interesting. And here in this movie, they cut a lot of that out. It's like I said, it's more of a straight science fiction story. Kind of like the movie Them or something along those lines. That's what it feels more like when you watch the American version than a straight up nuclear allegory. But like I said, I would not go as far as criticize by saying the movie wipes out that message. It doesn't wipe it out, but it's definitely not a focus of the film anymore. The focus of the film is simply, the terror of Godzilla in the American version. And you know what? In its own way, it works. It works pretty well. And I'm very glad to own the American version. To me, it's a part of movie history. This movie, was one that launched Godzilla into stardom. In Japan, of course, he was already kind of a big thing. But at this point, this movie helped American audiences get into Godzilla, and from then on, they kept making more and more and more. And Godzilla, that's where he is today because of it. Oh, I forgot it's garbage day. That truck passed by. But anyway, sorry about that. But in any case, my rating for this movie, I'd rate it 7 out of 10. Mainly because it does cut out a lot of the material that added a lot of depth to the original. However, it's still a very fun and interesting movie, and Steve Martin is a pretty great actor in this. I have no complaints about his character. And, of course, I appreciate a lot of the effort that the American editors put into adding him into the story, Those add for some great scenes of watching Steve Martin watch as Godzilla comes ashore, things like that. It gives it a very cool documentary-like feel to it, which is a very interesting perspective of looking at the film. So if they tried to do that with the Godzilla 1985, I think I would appreciate it a little more. But all the same, I think Godzilla King of the Monsters holds up very well today, and it's a pretty good movie as far as I can observe. That's it for this one, G fans, and moving on to the next one, Gojira 1954, the original masterpiece that started it all.